Imagine a panda who keeps disappearing from the zoo every night. The zoo staff gets really worried and can't figure out why. Then, the panda's caretaker decides to follow her and finds something so amazing and touching that it makes her cry. It was a quiet Monday morning at a zoo in China. The sun was just starting to rise and the zoo was still empty. Everything seemed calm and peaceful until a big problem surfaced. The zoo's favorite panda, Zango, was missing. Zango, a large and lovable female panda, had somehow escaped from her enclosure. The zookeepers were frantic. They scoured her usual spots, from the bamboo-filled area where she loved to munch on her favorite snacks to her cozy sleeping corner. But Zango was nowhere to be found. It was as if the 200-pound panda had vanished into thin air. "Where could she be?" one of the zookeepers asked, his voice trembling with worry. The entire team was on edge. How could such a big animal slip away without anyone noticing? As the hours ticked by, hope seemed to dwindle. But then, out of the blue, Zango reappeared. She was sitting calmly by the pond in her enclosure, chewing on bamboo like nothing had happened. The staff breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she might have been hiding under a tree and was finally visible. However, the very next day, Zango went missing again. The staff checked her enclosure thoroughly and searched the entire zoo, but she was nowhere to be found. Then, just like before, she was spotted by the pond, eating bamboo. Although everyone was relieved to see her safe, they were still puzzled. How did she keep disappearing and reappearing so quietly? The mystery left everyone baffled and eager for answers. That night, the zookeepers decided to set up cameras around Zango's enclosure. They hoped that if they couldn't figure out the mystery themselves, the cameras might catch something they had missed. The next day, they eagerly reviewed the footage. Throughout the day, Zango behaved just as she always did. She napped, munched on bamboo, and interacted with visitors. Everything seemed normal. But once the zoo closed and the last guest had left, things started to get weird. At first, the changes were subtle. Zango would get up from her resting spot and slowly walk to the back of her enclosure. There, she would pace around in circles and make strange noises. The staff noticed something odd on the monitors. Every time Zango passed by a camera, it looked almost as if she knew she was being watched. After a few laps, Zango would always stop at the same spot, a glass wall at the far end of her enclosure. This glass wall faced the open forest beyond the zoo. The forest seemed to blend perfectly with Zango's space, making it look like the forest continued right into her enclosure. This detail might be important, but the staff wasn't sure yet. The next thing they saw left everyone in shock. Zango stood up on her hind legs and grabbed the top of the fence near the glass wall. With surprising strength, she pulled herself up and balanced on the thin fence at the one spot where the enclosure wasn't fully sealed with glass. In just minutes, she climbed out and disappeared into the forest. The zookeepers were stunned. A young intern jumped up, ready to rush out and stop her, but Zuki, Zango's primary caretaker, stepped in quickly. "Wait," she said calmly. "Let's not stop her just yet." Zuki, a 34-year-old zookeeper with years of experience, had an idea. "Maybe there's a reason she keeps escaping," she said. "If we stop her now, we might never learn why. Let's follow her and find out." The team hesitated at first, unsure if they should let a wild animal roam free. But after a quick discussion, they decided to go along with Zuki's plan. With a handheld camera in hand, they quietly left the zoo and entered the forest, following the path Zango had taken. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Zango stayed ahead, her large black and white form darting swiftly between the trees. Pandas are usually slow and relaxed, but Zango seemed determined and on a mission. The team followed closely, tracking Zango's unusual moans and calls that echoed through the forest. It sounded like she was trying to communicate with someone. Zuki was puzzled. She'd never heard Zango make these noises before. They pressed on until Zango was out of sight. Just when they thought they'd lost her, a loud, high-pitched squeal pierced the air. They hurried towards the sound, moving quietly and eagerly, hoping to uncover what Zango was up to. When they finally caught up to Zango, they found her sitting in front of a large cave. She wasn't running anymore. Instead, she was making those same strange noises, calling into the cave as if she were trying to get someone's attention. Zuki and her team approached slowly, their eyes wide with curiosity as they watched Zango's unusual behavior. Zuki decided to move closer to Zango, hoping to calm her down. She called out softly, "Zango," but the panda only glanced at her briefly before returning to stare into the cave. Zuki took a few more steps forward, determined to understand what Zango was so focused on, but then something unexpected happened. The sound of footsteps behind them made Zuki spin around. To her shock, the zoo's owner and several security guards were approaching. They had heard about Zango's escape and had come with tranquilizer guns. When Zuki saw the guns, she panicked and shouted, "Stop! Don't!" But it was too late. One of the guards quickly fired a tranquilizer dart, hitting Zango in the side. The giant panda wobbled for a moment and then collapsed into a deep sleep. Zuki rushed to Zango's side, her heart pounding with anger and frustration. "Why did you do that? She wasn't harming anyone," she exclaimed. The owner, unmoved by Zuki's pleas, said coldly, "We can't let a panda roam free. She needs to be back in her enclosure." Ignoring Zuki's protests, the guards carefully loaded Zango onto a stretcher and carried her back to the zoo. Zuki felt devastated, knowing Zango had been trying to show them something important. Now, she feared they might never discover what it was. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Zuki couldn't shake the feeling that something important was still out there. She knew Zango had been trying to show them something, so she decided to return to the cave alone. Armed with only a flashlight, Zuki quietly slipped out of the zoo and made her way back into the forest. As she reached the cave, Zuki hesitated. Strange noises echoed from within, and a chill ran down her spine. She wondered if this was a bad idea, but couldn't turn back now. Zango had led her here for a reason, and she was determined to find out what it was. With each step deeper into the cave, Zuki felt her excitement grow. Suddenly, she stumbled upon something incredible. In the shadows, 5 pandas, 3 adults and 2 cubs, were huddled together. They looked healthy and alert, their eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Zuki's heart raced. Pandas are usually solitary animals, so finding an entire family living together in this hidden cave was astonishing. Tears filled her eyes as she realized why Zango had been so desperate to escape. The panda must have sensed the other pandas nearby and wanted to reunite with them. The next morning, Zuki rushed to share her discovery with the zoo's owner. At first, he was skeptical, but when he saw the footage of the panda family, even he was moved. Understanding how important this family connection was for Zango, the zoo decided to build a special tunnel that would allow Zango to visit the pandas in the forest whenever she wanted. When the zoo reopened, visitors were thrilled to see the pandas together, playing and exploring their new space. Zuki felt a deep sense of pride as she watched Zango finally find the companionship she had been missing. The zoo's owner learned an important lesson about listening to the needs of the animals in his care. So, that's all for today. What are your thoughts about this story? Tell us in the comments section below. And if you like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Your support means so much to us. Until then, take care and thanks for watching.